We know that's my Achilles heel. Thank you for the baby duck, Natalie. Hi, Newman. Right,
How's it
so
going?
Trent, do you mind just muting your microphone for a minute and see if there was a, I don't know, did you hear it at all, Rob? There was a double voice for me
Oh, okay.
as you were speaking.
It's probably me. I'll put headphones on.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, thank you
Thank you.
for noticing that. Yeah, we want a double voice. So right, so I think this is right, like this is the basically the way where everybody just logs their value. This is like the sort of contribution spreadsheet or whatever. And I think eventually, right, like a lot of people in our circles, myself included, feel like it could be really helpful for value, for this to all be tokenized and this to all be, put in a tool like a Hypha, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to, like Newman helped me, do rubber duck debugging. And, so for that, I want to give him a little money. I'm going to give him, whatever. I'm going to give him $5, but then the rest of it, like his value is whatever, $40 an hour. So I'm going to give him $5 in cash and the rest, in tokens. We all know how that works. Right now, this is a way to just do this like, it's super simple. Okay, everybody here, you attended a meeting. All right, well, you fill out, a new card, or I can go, to this one, to mine, and I can add another hour or 2 hours. Attended the community meeting. All right. So then I say 4, and then it just ups my total, and then that is reflected in my card. All right, so now I have 23 hours I've contributed. So this is, again, like the quick way to say, right, if everything is tokenized and on the blockchain, right, then that makes it, that's good. And that makes it, super, easy to keep track of. But this way is fine. At least this way you see, oh, okay, this person's contributed a lot. You can chart, you can still see everything that they've done. And then you're like, okay, well, like now that person is asking me, for an hour of my time for something. All right, well, that's fair. Eventually we want to like tokenize the stuff. So those are like kind of the main pieces. And then, the last piece as far as collaboration is like the community quests, the community projects. And this is really like, so, what we've been talking, Newman and I have been talking about a lot is, that at a certain point, we, want to like put up a bit of a gate, so we want to charge $10 a month, or $15 a month, provided that there's people are getting value from that. But the idea is, of course, that money is not being sent away to like a third-party platform. Like we are the facilitators, right? So we're basically paying ourselves. So it's like, okay, like something needs to be done. We need to set up this email marketing platform. All right, well, everybody's paying, whatever, some money. I'm doing this job for Holistic Systems. So then some of that's I'm just gonna be getting myself paid back for that. That's kind of like the heart of it, the value sharing. And then this is just, information we're so that way people can come in and they understand, oh, okay, how are we running it? Who are the members? Blah, blah, blah. How to leave. So this is like the base organizational info. Here's a quick start guide. So that way people can just jump on in before having to like learn about things. You can say, okay, just like finish filling out your member portal. Here we go. Add in a need. This is not finished yet. And then, this talks most, about the exchanging the value, which, we kind of talked about here, but talks a little bit more about it. And then the final piece really, so far, right, is this knowledge base. So it's just getting filled out, but this is a way for all of us to, another way for us to share value, right? Because like, right, I had to figure out, like I put together an online community platform for somebody, right? So I had to do like deep research and try out like a lot of these like community, online course platforms, right? And so basically, I can just like give this. I know there's always blog articles, like the best, the 10 best online course things, but you never know. You can't just read one and think that that's like, especially these days, where people just have Chat GPT write it and then put it in because it helps with SEO. So, right. So, but this is like real research done by a real person, who you could then look at this and say, oh, okay, this is really helpful. And then you could actually, like talk to them. So there's a lot of these different things. I made this like creative brief template. It's really good. It's really helpful. If a client needs to figure out like, what the F are they offering? So anyways, so that's really it. And then, right, a calendar. Thank you, Trent, appreciate it. Calendar, right? So we have the community meetings. As soon as possible, I want to get like a Skillshare. Thank you. I want to get like a Skillshare going, like a weekly Skillshare, because there's a lot of things, that I know everybody, right, can be, can be, putting in, right, like I've been learning a lot about sales, right, and about like how to get clients and customers, so I can do a Skillshare on that. Somebody can, right, I mean, it's anything. I mean, people, have already talked about, a couple of people have talked about like, doing like a yoga class, or meditation, for folks. This is just our to-do list. And then we're talking about for now, just like having our main chat really in like the Discord feed, and Newman's going to work on like restructuring that. So I'll stop there. And so I think really that's kind of gets Trent and Natalie up to speed as far as like what we've been doing, and as far as like, the way to start bringing people together. I think if there's really value, like that can come out of this collaboration, like I think there is, then it wouldn't take that many people, in a platform like this to start to really, get that going. Yeah. Hey, I just, any thoughts or feedback on all of that, or just
what do you Natalie and Trent, Rob and I for the last few weeks have been working on this, on just sort of getting this member portal idea out and into a spot. Did you tell the party analogy is sort of a thing? It's just like it's like we're making a party, so we have to have the website to where it's a party, not just a bunch of ingredients and like the idea of a party, but no. So this is a workable, like, in the party analogy, though, there's chips and dips and there's music playing and there's, we've made an effort to like, make it not look just like our house. This is a new thing. So I'm really curious as what your impressions
are. I love the party analogy. That's great. I am always impressed with that ability to take complex human dynamics and to structure them into like clear, accessible platforms based on, like the tools that we do have available to us right now, which I think you are in a exploratory phase based on, just where humanity is in terms of interacting with cooperation and community. And I think that you're leveraging, these free tools, and some maybe not so free, but I think you've utilized a lot of .io, which is fantastic because it makes it accessible. And I I see the incredible amount of, I really have no idea how you and Rob do that, organizing all that information into without getting like overwhelmed and shutting down, because like, yeah, it happens easily for different, different truths for different folks, different strokes for different folks. And so I really appreciate that it's already been organized, because that puts my nervous system at ease. It's like, okay, so now I can focus on like the areas. And I imagine many healers, artists, things operate in similar, where it can be overwhelming. And yeah, I have not been active in like keeping myself super updated in where HSC has gone with its evolution. So I appreciate the little intro that you gave today. It does speak to exactly where we left off, talking about needs and offerings, and how can we create, like, flush that out in a way that is more visual, and less like assumptive, like, assuming everybody knows. So I think, again, a really good practice. And I think the next step would be for me to actually get my hands dirty and go play around in said areas of organized documents. But as you were describing all this stuff, I've have a friend who is working with creating online communities, very small healing groups, but still she's like been asking me like what kind of structure and platform, and I was like, well, geez, you should just come and meet Rob and HSC, and there's a whole group of people that could potentially help you set up platforms, organizing her data in similar ways. So yeah, did that answer your question? Don't know what question we're answering other than hey.
No, those are incredible thoughts about this sort of new thing. And yeah, over the summer there was this sort of shift into a little more personal. I always think of it as kind of a decentralized thing, so it allows for people to come in and sort of see and get oriented and do the offer, to see what's on offer, to make offers. There's that opportunity, because it seems like we are looking for opportunity to share our skills, and that there's value in that. And that in my mind is what the get the hands dirty is. It's just like, oh yeah, find someone there, take them up on their offer. Yeah.
Right. And Rob, how many, you showed us a few different places that you had that information listed, right? The first one, the needs and offerings, or was that all in Notion?
This is all in Notion. Yeah.
All in Notion. Okay. And right. And I guess before someone even interacts with this information, they've already engaged with, I guess, this community call, right? And they've built like a actual working, speaking relationship with at least you, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I will. In fact, Trent, if you here, I'll give you this. You can be Trent a guinea pig.
Right on.
And go to this page and then just fill out this form. Now there's nothing, there's not like an instant confirmation, to you yet, but you can fill out the form, and then we'll see, if you show up here, and then I'll, invite you to, and you can create your card. I'd do the same for you, Natalie, but as I think, I created this one on your
behalf. I got the cookie.
The cookie one on your behalf.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had to fill it out a little bit. So, yeah, I think that's true, Natalie. I think that what we're talking about is is this progression in the way that we've been talking about it in like the most simple, like progress to the next level, like when you get there, when it makes sense. So I think right now, we're saying like, okay, the first people who come in here, like it's just going to be like the group that's already been around, that's already been in the circles, that is, and anybody that, like, I'm going to invite anybody that I know that seems like they would be interested, and all of you can invite anybody that seems like they would be interested. Right. And so then we're just, we're starting at a touch point. And then at a certain point, we'll see how many people, enter just that in that way. And my thought is that I don't, I think that, that first kind of group, at least this is just my thought, is that that first kind of group can start to, work in here and actually, and kind of like work out some of the bugs and actually, be that first test case and say like, hey, are we seeing some value in it? Are the folks in here seeing some value in it? Okay, we are. All right, great. So then maybe we can go to the, to the next step and start, like promoting out into like, just like groups, where we don't know exactly everybody, there, like we just, into the, whatever, the seeds, Discord channel. Hey, we've got this thing. And at that point, we might want to create like, certain, gates, whatever in the, and, put up some gates in the membrane, maybe at first, we put up a little gate, which is, yeah, you have to come to the meeting and we have to talk with you first, and then we'll, send you the, the form. Because right now the form's just on the internet, actually. Anybody who wants to come can come, right? But that's fine. I'm not worried about that. And then I think at a certain point, Newman and I talked a lot about this, and there's reasons, but like, and then I think at a certain point, after it's, if it works and there's more going out to the general public, we want to set up that gate that's actually like a monthly membership fee. Because because I think that if there's not like some kind of gate that has to do, with putting in some real, like value like that, where people really have to consider it, then I think you might get a lot of people who are just going to like come and pop themselves in here, but not like participate. And I think that's going to dilute things down. So that's number one. Number two, it's going to give that kind of like, fiat money value, pop that into the community and into the pool, and then some of that can start to be shared, and then that's also going to help, pay for operating expenses. That's also going to then, incentivize people, to like do some projects, take on some projects, or, a circle or something, for HSC to, because there's ways where things need to be coordinated. And then I think, once you get to a gate like that, then I think you've got something. And I think it's, something that can then help, move things to whatever next level it needs to move to. Which it's like, okay, well, at that point we're saying, all right, well, we need to get off Notion, we need to get into something where we can tokenize this, or we need to get in, there's part of the reason that I just sort of went with Notion was that I found there's this, there's somebody who's building like a platform that is Catalyst, just building a platform that's kind of like essentially for the, like really for this use case, this thing called Catalyst Network that I joined. I won't get into it, but it just, there's like real developers who are developing platforms, I think, for a use case that's very similar. And so
they spell catalyst with an I. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's my, that's my answer to that question, Natalie.
Okay, so Notion is at least providing that place where you can begin creating structure and all the like the nesting of information, so that you can then plunk it into whatever platform is like most desirable with those gates and people in place.
Yeah, I mean, I think the gates, I think, I don't know what the, where the progression would be. I think Notion is fine. It can hold up for, for a little while. And we have,
Yeah.
right, and I got on like the, the next up, like the paid Notion plan, so that way, you can have page permissions and, yeah, but I think if you get to that like paid gate, then that allows then for, for the time to do the research and then like to move to another platform. Because what I saw was that like, it was going to be a whole like research project, to like figure out what platform to use. And I was like, it's, like, why do that? Like, let's put together, like, this is going to work fine for facilitating it, at a lower level. At least that's my thought.
Yeah. Trent's on the quest to fill out his member
that's
profile.
right. Yeah.
Okay. I won't bug him then. Okay.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
going, Trent.
Oh yeah, he's not. Yeah, not in yet.
Here's some questions that I wrote down. It's this, are you, this is just a general member or people, are you motivated by the opportunity to share and I guess that's for Skillshare, because that's something that we can provide. It's like a framework for Skillshare or to do a task. Like for instance, Maggie who's not here, but I think she jumped at the chance. She was a student and she jumped at the chance to be involved with a marketing project so that she could do some analytics. She'd been taught in her school, big, nice school, Rochester, New York, a state institution. And she was just like, oh yeah, I need something for my resume. I want to practice the things that I learned. So there's a group of people that really are looking for just, they have something in they have an offer and they're looking for a need, right? So it's this whole thing like that. Then who is here at the member portal? Like if you show up at this member portal, like, what is the onboarding like? And that's something that I've always been curious about, is like, what's this path or pattern of bringing people on? And then this next one, what is the critical mass of the community to make it valuable? Like, where are those levels of value? And then how will we know when we get there? That's a great question to ask when you're on a quest or on a sort of a journey. And then I wrote down this statement. These are just some notes, sorry. I wrote down this statement. I offer this through HSC, and I'm thinking like, I really want to do, Natalie's here because I really want to do that Kyle Cease
Hi Lego.
I want to do that so bad. I want to offer it to people, just
Cool.
Here, watch this 10-minute video and then let's just practice. And like, if I could do that 5 times next month, that would be the coolest thing. But it could be even simpler than that. Like,
yes.
You want to talk, I will listen, like I'll do some active listening, or even simpler than that, silent sitting. Just, yes, you want to have somebody to like sit silently. I will set a time. We can agree on a time and we'll sit silently together. Anyway, so there's all these different offers, and I've written some down in the member portal, and it's a great exercise to like, oh, what can you offer? What can I offer? So I offer this through HSC. I'm just thinking about like what to say when people, like, I'm offering this through HSC, Holistic Systems Cooperative. Please join our community and participate by reciprocating these gifts. So it's sort of like we start the good pump, we start the virtuous cycle. And this scaffold, this member portal, helps us to do that without a lot of centralized admin that can sort of weigh down and becomes a job. And and is a point of failure. So it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this through HSC. You can go there, sign up. You can get, you can set up your own portfolio, your own profile. You can look at, see what people are offering. And you can, it's the validation is that there are all these, there's sites that are doing this. Skillshare, this Catalyst network sort of seems like it. So there's that, but then there's the like, this is something that all communities can, would possibly find value in. So if you're in a community of anything, local or whatever, and you just say, oh yeah, there's this framework or this pattern of where we get together and share, like sitting or helping somebody with the website or with these other digital handyman type of things. That's kind of why I'm excited about it, is that it's something that I think can sort of grow organically and won't require like there'll be a real immediate feedback from what I put in to what I can take out.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's like different form of meeting spaces. Like some feel different than others is what I'm hearing. Like you want, yeah, some different kinds of interactions.
Yeah, and one thing to add, right, is that, and it's good. I like seeing, where everybody, like what they're saying, like, oh, this is like the value that these are my needs. This is the value that I'm really needing now. Because like I've been on this like train, of been on like how do we get our basic needs met? And how do we make a livelihood? So like I'm really on that, and I'm saying like, hey, like this thing can actually be a way to, help like earn money.
Yeah.
And then, right, but in a very, in a particular way. So yeah, so I think that there's an aspect there, right? And that's, I think, why, right, like that's, like we're starting in a particular niche, for a particular population, in a particular area, business, economics, freelancers, gig work, entrepreneurs. Yeah, because I think that the more, right, with the idea being that the more stability that's there, then the more, in stability in getting my base needs met, and having a group that's able to help me do that, then, the more I can do, all those other things that I want to be doing, that are meaningful to me. Trent, yes. Love to hear what you have to say.
Thanks. I'm itching to give some feedback because, yeah, this is awesome. So so from competition to collaboration through cooperation, that's what y'all are doing. You're setting up a system so that the members of the cooperation are able to serve each other. That's awesome. But also potential to serve the cooperation itself. So right now, the way you have the Notion set up, you are offering from person to person. Like I have this, and I am offering. Maybe I have this, and this is how much I'm asking in return. Maybe it's nothing. That's great. Or maybe it's $10 or whatever. It's $100. Maybe it's $2,000. Because this is like a full blown offering for But I see an opportunity where, and I haven't seen this done. Like with Haifa, it was all working for the company, everything that they were offering would be service to the company's goals or like furthering the development of the thing. And so I think maybe holistic systems could do it a little bit differently, where it's like, no, this is a cooperation of people that like and enjoy serving each other. And it actually is like a no stakes entry. It's just like, hey y'all, I want to offer this. You don't have to pay for it, if you whatever, you can tip me over here, whatever, but I want to do a meditation. I've never done a meditation before, FYI. But I'm going to hold one. If you want to come, great. And then that's just people serving people. And I see maybe in that list somewhere in a different section, it's like, now these are the asks or the needs from the cooperative level. And maybe those will sit there for a while. We need someone to build out a full-blown platform of we need, this, you need to code, you need to maybe even have a little team. And maybe the cooperation can put together that team and then try to accomplish that cooperative objective. But what had me thinking about this was, I was going to ask you all if you have ever been a member or a part of a cooperative on the ground, because I haven't. It's like, you talk about new members, you show up to the cooperative, maybe on the ground somewhere, and you find out what they're doing, maybe by word of mouth, or maybe there's like a list on a piece of paper, or maybe there's a website, maybe that can show people, or a Notion site. But I think also at that same time, it's like, these are the cooperation endeavors over here. You can help build the sauna. I don't know. It's a fancy cooperative. Maybe you want to help build the garden or do some project there, and it's like listed, like we want this to be done. And then like on another paper, it's like, and these are all the community things that are happening that people just come up and write, at 4 o'clock today, on the wipe off board, I want to do this. You're invited. So that people that show up can see that, or if it's online, they can see it from their home and they can choose to come. I really like it. It feels like the community aspect really bring people to the table, and then maybe they become like deeper members by contributing to the cooperation itself. But that's just a little idea I thought, or I wanted to share. Is there anything else? No, I like it. I think it's great to I think a phrase from like old, when I was in Seeds was like, good enough to, or safe enough to try, or what is it? Hold on. What is the phrase?
It's
good enough for now. Safe enough to try.
Yeah, good enough for now. Safe enough to try. Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at, and I applaud it. I think it's great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Right, and I think that's the that's the beauty of it, is that it's right. That's where it turns into the organism, because this. Right, like from competition through cooperation to collaboration, right? Like that's the base idea. I'm making we're making a little thing, but I didn't come up with it. Newman didn't come up with it, but so it's like, but once you have some sort of structure for it, then how that happens comes through everybody, right? Because you're like, oh, this is how I'm seeing it, right? And this is how I'm visualizing it. Oh, and now I'm like seeing it in the lens of like an on the ground cooperative. And then it just it grows.
I've never, that's a great question, Trent. I've never actually been a member of an on the ground cooperative. I have been in sort of community like living spaces, and this was way back when. I mean, before broadband internet, before and it was. You got the feeling that it was mostly like it wasn't very mature. It's like kids in the 20s like living in in Alaska doing jobs and stuff. And but there are some opportunities here, and I wonder how it works, like working in a member-owned business, or like one of these teal businesses, like Gumroad or I guess Patagonia and Meyer. There's these examples of like new ways of working, and like how they do it. Maybe it's one of the grocery stores where they have like really small, they have like teams of 10 or teams of 12, and that's their organizational unit. So when you get hired by a group of 12 people. And that's it.
Cool.
You don't have you're just accountable to that 12. So there is a future and there is a new way of doing things coming out. And yeah. So it's like, this could be our test bed. This could be our way of, and we can do it for ourselves. And if we do it with just enough structure, like we can leave the breadcrumbs for others to sort of follow along in our path,
Yeah, and what kind of hits me is like, I'm a very like see all the problems and then try to solution them. But
Sure.
I think the problem with like the on the ground stuff is, for instance, like what would stop me from starting something like that is the general feeling that people aren't going to actually contribute. Whatever. It's just that sense that, yeah, I whenever I was in Sebastopol, at Daniel Swid's house, he lives in a community, and it's a living community, but like the idea that people are going to like go check the board to see what needs to be done and they're going to like contribute to be, it doesn't really happen. And I think the solution maybe to that would be that there is a trusted financial system, maybe like, I think it would be the blockchain, right? Some kind of blockchain account where the money is safe, the money is secure, there's no ability for corruption, and people can really believe like, yes, if I do this thing and maybe a member signs off on it that it got done, then that money will be given to me or whatever, that value, that shared value will be given to me. And it's not gonna be some like administrative problem to get all this stuff. It just seems like a lot of work. If you just popped open the app and saw what needed to be done down at the cooperative, and you said, oh yeah, I can do that for an hour today, sure, accept. And then you just go down and do it, and then someone confirms it, and then you get paid later that day. It's like, that might change the game.
Yeah,
to
man.
piggyback on that, is that, and I think you've said it, I hadn't really thought about it, but that's exactly what my experience has been in some of these communities where they're like, oh, we're blockchain and we do things differently and we're decentralized, and just if you come in and we really need these things, and I'm a rule follower, I'm like, okay, show me your board where you've got all the stuff that you need. And I'm like, okay, oh, I can do that. No one's doing it. Wow, okay. I do it for a week, and they're like, hey, that's super great. You're really doing great. And I'm like, okay, but you're supposed. I think there's supposed to be some payment and actually these guys did have like a big pile of money. I could see the wallet. I'm like, oh wow, why are they not? Oh, it turns out it's a big deal, and people need to, like all this sort of stuff. The feedback loop was really slow. I eventually did get paid, but it was honestly a year later, and like it was crazy. It was crazy, and and now the community is not doing so hot. But what you just sort of highlighted, I think, is the real thing. Like the feedback loop is like, I do it, it's clear and easy. There's a real facilitated path. Like I don't have to like know a guy and do a special thing. It's just like, oh no, just punch the button, do the thing, and then later that day, the value shows up. Now, the interesting thing is it, like financial value, but then other kinds of the other forms of capital, the other types of value could come your way. But closing that feedback loop, between, I think it's really, that's the value that it took from that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that actually, well, it brings in an interesting question, for the, at the start here, like I was talking about, okay, we start with the circle of people who we, know, and then goes to the next kind of circle out and the gate and the next one. I think that the people who are, here first, the kind of the groundbreakers, it seems to me like it would make sense to start like just with the value exchange and not worrying so much about like the actual money or the actual token that you're getting back, like could a group come together and we're just say, all right, we're gonna use these, these lists and all of this, and we're gonna track everything, but at first it doesn't need to be, sorry, my dog was going crazy in the background. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like,
I may have to go. Yeah, it's a dog in the house I live. So, but but it might be, and I don't know, this is a question, it might be that, we just say, hey, we're going to come together, we're going to share value at first, and we're going to track it. And then while we do, then we can, do our first experimentation into tokenizing it, and figure out, how we want to like use those tokens and people want to assign them, as you sort of move into like the more refined place that I think Trent and Newman, were just talking about, like how, like, yeah, there has to be a, we don't want to wait for that refined, tokenizing system to be in place first, I think.
Yeah, and I call that the sneaker net. It's just like, it's not automated. When someone fills out the member portal, like it's just an email that shows up and then someone has to take it over. When it at this scale, less than 20 people, less than 20 people we've got about, then that sort of works. And that the turnaround time, but eventually, like, then there, the automation sort of will kick in. I think that's sort of where that goes, and then it does refine itself, and then you kind of, because the pitfall we're avoiding is building out a big giant system. And this is absolutely beautiful because, like we've all been in those places where there's like one guy that runs the whiteboard and he's like, oh no, here's the stuff. And you're like, well, it's not, I just want to go and do the thing. Do I have to write it down on the whiteboard? And you're like, well, okay, so we have to figure out like what works in our context for what we want to do. We have to have like the appropriate structure or the appropriate administration or governance. Like I'm not a governance maxi. Like I'm not somebody that's like, oh, you have to have a whiteboard or you have to write everything down or it has to be this way. But I see the value in it, and and I just want to see it implemented well, meaning that the contributions are tracked and that the system, that there is a system working,
Yeah.
That we avoid that pitfall.
Yeah. Very cool. Natalie or Trent, any more thoughts?
You said you have to go tend to a dog, is that right?
No, the dog stopped barking. Therefore, I do not need to go tend to the dog. Thank you, though.
He's satisfied his own need. He was like, I've got a need. That's it. Their dogs are barking, and they're like, they stop barking. They're like, no, I got it.
Yeah.
He's probably,
or whatever being they were barking at moved from their view of the window or something, and then that's usually what happens.
Could be a squirrel, could be a walker in the neighborhood, could be anything.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah, I think I got something. Like,
oh yeah, please.
Just real quick. Yeah, so like I went through just a little bit of backstory, I guess. A little bit of like, this is who I am. Started in Seeds like 2020, and then I was an initial member of Samara. I don't know if y'all read much about the Samara team, but stuff. And then a bit later, Samara sort of kind of just fractaled out, and then it came back together a smaller form in the form of Samara Trust. So I've been involved in these community groups, all remote, and it's, I guess what my thought or what I'm trying to express here would be like, I have been a part of what we talked about earlier is like members serving members, kind of. It wasn't really a lot of one-on-one. It was here and there, and it definitely wasn't formalized into like an offering list or things like that. But we did that. We did that for 3 years, off and on. And there was a lot of value there garnished, and that it wasn't really realized. It wasn't fully realized in me fully until kind of it ends. It's kind of funny how that happens. Or as it closes down a little bit. But what I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, our main struggle was doing work together. We had a great time together. We enjoyed each other's presence. we would, especially in Samara Trust, we were together online for like, I don't know, 6 to 10 hours a week, like actively online together, and different calls in each day for different purposes, prototyped and experimented just through us. Said, hey, what if we do this? Okay. And it was a small group of 7 with Samara Trust, so it got really tight and it got really tight. We really loved each other. We kind of, it was really family, I guess, is kind of what it got down to. And so in those organizations, or in that structure, if in my life and in the way I experience it, work was not happening. It's at least what I called work, or what I thought it was at the time. Some other people did kind of do some work together, but it was never paid, and it didn't really ever like give us anything. But the community aspect of it was like absolutely amazing, beautiful, and very fulfilling. But at the same time, that also kind of has to come, I don't know, just a natural cycle of life and death, I think is active in those. And luckily we had enough love and appreciation and gratitude for the space that, nothing ever really dies. It just changes form, and nothing ever really disappears. It's just kind of that trust that, that what we are and who we are, is always still there. And so I have this really beautiful community of people around the world that, I know that I can go to, in times of trouble, or if I'm a little bit lost. And that's incredible. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that the work aspect never happened. So I'm a kind of applauding, and I'm kind of looking at HSC as like, well, maybe I can bring in a little bit like of what I learned through Samara and Samara Trust, into HSC, and it's in my kind of refined way that I've learned. Like we talked about meditations and things like this. These are things that I love doing and I've done a lot of. And maybe I can work more in that community side of stuff. And yeah, so I want you all, I want HSC to, Rob, I'm looking at you, like, help us, help the community actualize the mission, into the world through working together. In Cherokee, it's called Gaduji. It means working together. So this is what I'm passionate about, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I come into this space and seeing what flowers at some point. And maybe there will even be a nice little fruit that all of us can enjoy. But all right, that's me. I appreciate the space, and I hope to hear from more of you all.
I'm vibing out, man. That's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. And then, oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really great. And I appreciate, you hearing your background. Yeah. And that, right, like the lessons that you've learned, from your group involvement, your community involvement, right? And everybody here has group and community involvement, that they're coming with. And to like bring those lessons in, yeah, that's a big deal, right? That's like, that's value sharing, right? Is like, hey, I have knowledge and I have expertise. And not just like that I read in a book, but from experience, and I saw, right, in this group, how we did this thing, and it was, really worked well. And we're trying to do this and it didn't work all that well. And then how can we bring that in here? So yeah. And I love it. I mean, I think that's what I've, it's that idea of like, right, working together. How does that develop work? And I think that's what, this is, right? If this is phase 1, then and phase 1 works, just like I was saying at the beginning of the call, Trent, then I think that phase 2, where we can start operationalizing teams, and bringing in more clients. I mean, I think that just happens, because it's like, right, Trent and I were also talking about work, right? So it's like, I have, it looks like there might be more and more, for me, like WordPress job opportunities. And there's only so much that I can and should be doing. Right. So then it's like, hey, who's interested? And that's paid, that's paid work. Right. Again, then that's not only that's not to say like that's the only thing, but that's a big piece, right? If we come together in community and I'm getting, like exchanging value in lots of different ways, but it's also helping me in my professional developments, helping me team up with people, learn, get better. Right. I think maybe I'm just reiterating, or but, bringing in some, example of what Trent was talking about with Gaduji.
Yeah, and Trent, how are you? How are you connected to the Cherokee? Are you nearby a tribe or a group or and?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a Cherokee citizen. My family didn't find out that information until I was like 10 or something like that. And so my family has not been involved in the community of the Cherokee, like the people, right? The community. But we live, technically we're in the Cherokee Nation Reservation right here. I'm in Eastern Oklahoma. And the Cherokee Nation headquarters of Tahlequah is about a 20-minute drive east of here. So I've been here my whole life. Well, whatever. I went to college in Western Oklahoma, but yeah, I'm dedicating 4 years from 28 to 32 to this area, to the Cherokee Nation, just to see. I want to connect with the community and be a part of it. It's a lot going on right now, but yeah, I'll share. Natalie, and everyone, I'm gonna share an album in the chat that's in 100% in Cherokee language, and it's accurate. So
Epic.
I'll share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that would be so cool. And language is such a big deal. I guess the Cherokee language is like unique or very sort of built out. Lots of resource and like ways to learn it. Yeah, I think even just learn just because this is like wouldn't it be cool if you just knew 10 words in Cherokee or that I think language is like a big part of the way,
Yeah, I'll give you a little. I just the Cherokee National Holiday was just last 2 weekends ago, and I went to a talk, and it was about I guess media, media production. So there's a big push for Cherokee media to get out there, and in that talk, they started talking about how through learning the language, you can't avoid learning about those people. The language and the people are like one, and the intricacies or the nuances of the language help you understand how the people thought, how their consciousness operated. So like I love thinking about like just because the language we speak, our consciousness is different. A people group that speaks a different language, they have a different consciousness based upon how they describe the world and talk about it. So yeah, it's really cool. And you can actually get the Cherokee language on your Apple device. You can use the language. It's been in type form. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, definitely share that with us. Yeah,
I will.
That idea. I want to notice the time. So 4:30. And usually we end up going till 5. Right, 4:30 Eastern time, as it were. So yeah, just kind of a check-in as far as like where people are at, how we want to use the rest of the time. I have like thought, I'm thinking, okay, like as far as the member portal, if there's any kind of concrete thoughts on moving forward with that. I mean, Newman and I sort of have kind of have our to-do lists to get to this place. Maybe yeah, we can use Trent, you want to be a guinea pig and kind of go through it and give notes, something like that. Any other topics? And also I saw in the chat that Natalie was thinking about maybe a Kai Lego. Oh, right. And then now in the chat again, a Kai Lego exercise. So do we want to do that and have one of you two lead us through it?
This is
Yeah,
how
everybody
Yeah,
gets to
this is-
participate though.
Yeah, for sure. It's just we just sort of set up a space where we take a thing that is going to happen in the future, and we just sort of talk, and we can just set a time. We can just, I don't know, 5 minutes to start, where we just talk about that thing as if it had happened, and it happened super, super well. And I've never done it before. I have no idea where it'll take us to. So I mean, I think that would be kind of, and this is the kind of, I mean, it's beautiful what you said, Trent, about the work, because I definitely see it. Like I want my communities to sort of inspire me to get the things done in the world that I see that is wrong, that I want to, not wrong, not fix, but want to engage with and want to build, like that's what I want from a community. And Rob, so far, and this group so far has really helped me to do that. Like I am one who wants to take the opportunities to do stuff. Yeah. So this would be a really cool thing, because have any of us done, Natalie, have you ever done a Kyligo exercise?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's I signed up for one of Kyle's he had it really cheap, and you go, and every day of the week he had something where you could log in, listen to him talk, and then one night a week he does so there's like 30 to 60 people that will come online in a Zoom, and then they put you in private breakouts, and then they rotate you through different breakouts, and you Lego one-on-one with someone. Yeah, and so you can do this weekly, and it's like fire. Otherwise I would recommend like just on a walk when you're by yourself. It's usually better to do it with someone, but you can also play the game just with you and the universe, and just pulling on this string, and just like whatever comes out. And the idea, like you can't say anything wrong. You won't manifest anything that you're not supposed to. What is true will find its way, right? Like, so there's no fear in like, oh well, what if I say the wrong thing, and then blah 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 blah, cascade of events. Not so much. It's more like you're given a palette of paint, and instead of using the same 3 colors that you feel safe with, it's like let's just see what else is in there. Let's see what else you can like start brushing. And so you play off of the other person's kind of story vision. So to give it, I don't know if Trent probably hasn't seen the video. I imagine Rob and Newman kind of had. Lego is a comedian gone transformational artist now. He's kind of like coaching people online. You can find him on YouTube. He's got pretty good stuff to say. He knows his shit. Sometimes it's not always for me, but he does resonate a truth for me when I listen to his things, and I appreciate that. He's gotten me out of some really dark moments. And his big thing is really it's not you, it's a pattern, right? So it's like seeing past that illusion of yourself all the time. And this Lego is activating an aspect of the human brain that anticipates how to get from A, B, C to D. There's this subconscious problem solving that our minds are always operating in. And so the way this wording works is I would start out by saying, projecting as if, like, what kind of time frame do we want to work? Like 2 weeks from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? What kind of time frame? Like 6 months?
I'd say at least for me, at least 6 months, or I could go a year or farther. I don't know.
I like 6. 6 is good.
6 months. Let's go 6.
Cool. So I will be speaking as if I am, like, it is 6 months right now, and I'm remembering back to this moment, and I'm just listing off or expressing all of the things that have like occurred over the last 6 months. So I'll start it, and I'll just start riffing and just letting it go. And then when I start to feel a bit of like this, you know, I've said my piece, someone else can step in. And it's really nice if you can offer reflections. You can be like, yeah, Natalie, I remember when you blah, 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 blah. And then you keep going with the thread and you run your direction, right? So it can be a particular topic. It can also not. But I'll start out with in relation to some of the stuff Rob shared. I'll keep it, I'll start there and we'll see where we go. So, hey guys, I remember like 6 months ago when I was sitting in this meeting on Zoom on a nice fall afternoon. And I remember we were, you know, crushing some really impressive ideas on how we can take like a collaborative community from, you know, just like a feeling heart space, which is really necessary and needed. And then we moved it into like a work together, get stuff done. And so I remember there was this period of time where we all went our separate ways and we took time to digest and dissolve this thought pattern, not really holding on to it too lightly. And then I remember, you know, in the communities that I was showing up, this pattern started revealing itself, and people started like coming forward and offering these solutions for like actually working together. And then I remember this template, you know, Notion documented information that like Rob had set up all of a sudden started to attract individuals that had the right components to like actually like activate and mobilize it into the world. And but you know, before we knew it, you know, I could see how the like the members started fueling and teaching each other, and then there was this like evolution to it where it began to inspire this whole other like new plant. I'm gonna like this new community experience of, you know, people that were really excited to like discover and understand what it meant to like actually move forward and do work together. And the work was like, I remember it just being like so seamless and it was so easy. And I remember like over the next 6 months there was this incredible dance of like being able to witness and visualize these things online, but then to also be physically involved in communities that were also reflecting and emulating the work that was being done online. And you know, and then I remember like as the 6 months came around, there began this like income flow. It just, for like being whoever I was just naturally, I didn't have to try, I didn't have to like overextend myself. There was like, you know, and I remember like showing up and being like, I love this work, like this is great, like yeah, I just, it made it easy to like volunteer and also to like be like full consultant mode for people that really appreciated the value that I brought. You know, I'll pass it to Newman. You know, like what do you remember over the last 6 months?
So it's so crazy that you bring these things up because I fully remember like this whole, I mean, it's now March of 2024. And
Wow.
like that fall was when I started to really notice like the tone and quality of like showing up into these different communities and being like, oh no, I'm ready to get my hands dirty. You know, and I can't think of it off the top of my head now, but we started using Cherokee words for things like working together. And it just like, all of a sudden, I just felt super, super great about being around and having like a community of people. And then, then like new people started to show up and like that were really excited to like offer stuff. And then I was like, I would go to the website. And I remember it was one Saturday I went to the website and I was like, oh, somebody's doing a silent meditation. And I just sat for like 15 minutes. And it was so cool to be like, oh, right, they're over there in Canada or in Oklahoma. And I was just like, shit, I've never met anybody from Oklahoma before. I totally remember all those things and feeling so much happier now. And now, like, just today, I met like a great like business contact with someone, just like you said, like all of a sudden someone's just like, oh yeah, we need somebody that will do a handyman job, building out a community, and they fully understood like all of the experience that I've gone through in the year or so since I've been working in HSC and meeting everyone. Rob, do you remember like what was it? Do you remember last winter?
Yeah, yeah, last winter I do. Well, you know, like I remember last winter, it was it was interesting because there was this winter kind of like hiccup. You know, usually I'm in the Northeast, you know, so usually I think, you know, we think of winter here as a place to, you know, when everybody, you know, sort of comes inward and hibernates, you know, but I certainly remember, you know, in the summer, there was that kind of summer lull where things were reforming, you know, so it felt like, and then in the winter, it did the opposite, you know, and I remember like, yeah, when things just kind of like blew up in the winter, you know, and after that member portal, after we kind of got that going and people in there, and you know, like what I remember was that just more and more people started to come because there was like they were getting value from being together, and that was so that was like really the amazing part for me, you know, in the winter and then into the spring, was to see that, you know, if a group of people, like how they can actually facilitate like helping each other, you know, in a group and coming together. And and it was amazing. And then I remember, you know, especially coming into the spring, I remember you know, people taking on, you know, different jobs, and you know, then we were able to, you know, start you know, charging a monthly fee, and so then that helped, you know, sort of boost up other people, you know, doing these coordinating jobs, and that was really fun for me.
That's right, we didn't even have like a treasury back then. Like it was all started in this, you know, since like, when was this, like September? Oh, so it's like the start of football season. Oh my God, that Jets game. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't believe that Aaron Rodgers went on to have like the best season of his life after that. Oh my goodness. His Achilles just like healed up. They're like, we don't know how it
Yeah, it's a
happened.
magical, he went to say, this magical healer, and healed up his Achilles and had the best season of his career. I remember that was amazing, right? And that's why we got a big influx of Jets fans, you know, into the community, because they suddenly they had hope, you know.
That's right.
For life, where it had never been there before.
And I was really worried that they would be assholes and be like, oh, like really, really horrible Jets fans. But it turns out genuine, lovely, happy people. Oh man.
Yeah. And so, right. So I remember all of that. And Trent, what do you remember back then, right, when all that magical stuff happened with the Jets, but then also, you know, everything else? Remember way back when?
Yeah, what was going on with you, Trent? I remember meeting you back then.
Yeah, no, I remember I came around about that time, and it was beautiful. But I really didn't know what was in store really at the time. But come to find out, not too long later, after all those Jets fans showed up, it was a little turbulent there for a second, but yeah, once they tried those mushrooms, I think it all turned out all right. But no, that was a beautiful ceremony though. We had a really good ceremony that day. But no, yeah, a little bit later, I recall a lot of really beautiful moments. I think I remember there was a time when Rob and Newman and Natalie and Trent were shedding tears of joy together as one there for and there was a few others present, but I remember you guys the most. And I think we were just in celebration. That's what I remember, was that celebration, because the hopes and the dreams that we had been speaking about, and kind of they were coming out of our voice, but they were coming out a little bit shallow, and it's almost like we were hoping, but come to find out, that which we spoke of really came into fruition, unlike any way we could have imagined. I remember a lot of just smiling faces across the screens, but my most favorite part was that next spring. I think it was just maybe a month ago or so, when we got to see each other in person, and that was really special. Spending 3 days in the wilderness at the lake, it was really magical. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this next year with everyone.
Awesome.
What? What just happened? What just happened? Oh my goodness.
And just take a moment and like register in your body, like what's the feeling? Like it's different for me. I feel like a bubbly aliveness when I Kai Lego. I don't know why I don't do it more often, but yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. I know, I can feel more, right? Like there's more
Oh.
the Kai Lego manifested an animal. Before there was not one, and now big giant being.
Yeah, lots of animals around. That was another thing I remember. Just squirrels and birds just would visit us and sing little ditties to us.
Yeah. I like the oh yeah, go. The possibilities, that I can feel in my body, right? It's like, oh, okay, yeah. These are, it feels more like possible, connected.
I think my brain really misses that, like kind of expand. So there's a couple things, like one, expansive, two, imaginal. Like it's not the space to be like, well, that could never happen.
Right, no consequence.
So, yeah. It kind of, it's like I'm thinking of animals. I'm thinking of like the video of the cows being let out of the barn, and they're like, they just are like, totally, like flopping around like dogs and stuff. And that's kind of what I feel like. I feel like I've got like a big cow brain that's just like, like working, and kind of like real animal toil. But meanwhile, there's this whole other thing that we can just sort of like, and super accessible. Like we did not feel this way 4 or 5 minutes ago, and so what that means to me is, I don't know, I want to cultivate that, and then that I feel like that is this place, it's yeah, especially with the folks present, I mean, that's, and I know that Zoe would get in on it. This is kind of funny now. Remember Gonzalo, who is our like big who would generally do this type of stuff. He had like lots of creativity. What was his name?
Oh, Jeff Quintero.
Yes. We need to make a special invitation to bring Jeff back.
Yeah, and we kept this Kai Lego quite like literal, but you can go to outer space and beyond and like go super like meta
Yeah.
with like, you know,
Yeah.
really dissolving things. And yeah, so yeah, I'm catching a sense that maybe Newman and we got to coordinate a time and space where we can open this field up for folks. And
Yes, and it feels like hold on.
And thank you, Natalie, for facilitating that. That was great. I could tell you were like, you knew your Kalego shit.
It feels like a new moon type of thing. We're having new moon on a few days from now.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we should find like a new moon gang to like meet up with. I know one group does a new moon, they have a Lunations Discord, in their Discord, and I'm sure we could sort of like kind of bum rush the show and say, hey, we want to do a facilitate a 15-minute, and I guess it could go longer with just passing it around the circle, and and the passing seems very natural because you're just like, oh, Trent, do you remember like the so and so, and then oh yeah, that's when the so and so. It's just, and that's the format, right? It's just like I remember, like that phrase is.
Yeah. That's key.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when because then your brain's like, what, that already occurred? Oh wait, you're already getting paid for something, and then it starts like trying to figure out how to put that into place, and overrides, like it's the same process of like repetitive thoughts. They do the same thing, but this is like stepping out of that repetitive process, lining up new potentials for the brain to hack. I tried it once. It was, like I said, the outdoors by yourself on a walk. So you're like, your body's moving. You can kind of tap into your heart space in a different way. But I did it once when I was like really angry and upset. And I was like seeing how if I could corrupt it. And it undid its, my anger ended up like, deepening into this beautiful, like vast expanse of like who you really are. And it was like, oh, well, I'm not angry anymore. So it's right, because it was like, I remember 6 months ago I was so fucking angry, and it just like kept going, this was stupid. And then like the more I just kept like pulling off the stuff, like it revealed underneath what really wanted to come out, and then it was just like, oh wow, okay. So it has some pretty cool applications, but it does require one to be kind of open, stepping out of the mind and into the creative field. So yeah, it's an interesting play for sure. Thanks for diving in, folks.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, it's great. I love I love what the future looks like. And sharing that with you all.
I like that. The start of meetings for new moons. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's also something, I have this picture in my mind that I really love, which is feels like it could be incorporated, as soon as, right, like this member portal is just ready to receive people. To start getting like a weekly skill share on the calendar, and everybody can just, sort of take, volunteer as they want. Everybody can, whether that skill share, right? I mean, right, if things get bigger, then it can branch off into different kinds. You could have the weekly, sort of health and wellness, something, and then a business one. But at first, and everybody could just offer something and see, and who knows? I mean, sometimes, there may be one person there or nobody shows up, but then we sometimes maybe like, oh, start getting in people. But I think there's also something about like having the skill share, about just like offering something, because then for each person, it's like, oh yeah, I know about this. Oh yeah, I think that this is something that could have value for people. And then, each person gets to, go in and be, sort of the expert at that thing. Anyways, that's just...
No, that is, what just popped into mind is like, I feel I'm learning about my own value. I'm getting lessons all the time and don't really recognize some of the tools and things I have. But if I got over that for a second and made like a list of like offerings, it would be interesting feedback to see what kind of things people were selecting, right? Like it would probably surprise myself and be like, oh shit, people actually want to go through that with me? Like, okay, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so like why, you know, like I'm editing myself before even like giving the opportunity, because there's that like the most personal is often the most universal, right? So the shit that I'm going through and the ways I process, there's probably tons of people that could be like, yeah, I want to play. Let's do something. So yeah, I can see how that list is an interesting way to display it outside.
And one, I mean, and this is sort of a, is it sort of off, or is it untoward to sort of like mention things that, you know, that others have said during the Kyligo exercise? Is it something like, or is it something like kind of like a space where you're like, you just let it sort of go?
Repeat that?
Yeah. Well, like, is it like when we do a way of the circle like meetings, it's like it's just like it's kind of an unwritten rule in our group to like, you're not really supposed to say, you're not supposed to address things that are said directly in the circle. You know, it's sort of like, yeah, you know, you don't want to say you said this in the circle and I wanted to, you know, see, you know, what was this kind of like sacred space kind of thing. Because, and then the reason why I asked this is because one of the things that you said during during, you know, the exercise was that it was super easy to volunteer. It was super easy to do the work, like that, you know, that when it becomes real and it has your own value to it, you're just like, oh, right, this is my value I'm creating. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Mm.
And yeah, Kyligo does have a way of revealing beliefs and things that, yeah. So I guess, and I'm like, well, do you create that intention at the beginning of the Kyligo, but then people may start editing themselves and reserving. So, or is it, but I don't like, not so much like a sacred space, like someone's sharing their like internal, like, you know, and you're not meant to like fix it, give feedback, kind of like advice. I understand that relationship, but this is also a creative space. And I feel like if it came up, it wants to be seen. And if it inspires something, like if it registers a point in someone else, then for me, that's a reflection, an important reflection, right? I heard it, they heard it. So I don't know how other people would feel, but that's my thought, that it's like, if it hits something, then yeah, let's dance with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as we practice, as I practice more with it, and just being comfortable with being collaboratively imagining or in a playful circle, with like that it'll get sort of, you know, easier, and but it's just sort of, you know, when a new thing is there, it's just like, okay, what are the rules? And I don't know how,
How can I push the boundaries?
yeah,
or...
yeah, exactly. Yeah, what, you know, but just with, I mean, with your facilitation, you know, and it seemed pretty effortlessly to get into a good spot that really gave more than what I was expecting, to be honest. I was like, well, you know, I might, you know.
Yes, that's another good point. So if you have that block, you can even use it as a leverage. So like, I remember 6 months ago, I was so nervous about sharing in Kyligo. I don't even know where to start. It was like so terrifying, but then I just started, and then your riff is on, right? And then you're in it, like you're in it. So just, you can often use that as a platform too. So because yeah, often when you're like face to face with a stranger and you're like, uh-oh, what if I do this wrong? What if I embarrass myself or say something that makes them angry? But I think people who enter into an imagination or creative space, there's kind of like a openness and acceptance for whatever's coming through, right? I don't think anybody wants to stifle anyone's creativity.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, I'm excited.
Beautiful.
I'm excited. Thinking of like next actions. I'll ask at my it's called actually they may be, no, I think they're in Arizona. But they do a moon ceremony, and I'm able to say, hey, can we hang out on your Discord and do this Carligo, and I can send them the link to it, and and they've got a couple of folks that will come, and I think that would be fun. And then we could just say, hey, we're in HSC. You can come and join our meetings. They happen on Tuesday. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, keep me informed.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd
Cool.
like to
Now
join too.
it's something for me to look forward to. Actually, I'm really excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. I guess that we right. So that's what That's something like that we're thinking
We
about
hijacked your
using the Discord for something like that, which is to announce these things when they come up. Yeah. So I'm looking at the time. What do we need to wrap
I
up?
have one question for you, Rob. And speaking of Samara Trust, this is Justin Joseph Samara. Is that what you're relating to? Yeah, he's starting his Humanity of Human of Humanity, something like that. Are you
Human
signing up
beings
for that,
being
Rob?
human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually meeting. I'm meeting with him next week. I don't know if that I'd be able to participate in that, but I'm meeting with him through.
Yeah.
Oh, right, through.
I met with him
Kimberly,
today.
right. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
I talked to him yesterday.
Who is this? Who is this fella? Who is this person?
Who is he? Oh yeah, Newman. You'd get him. Don't worry about that. It's just a matter of time. I'm sure you already know him. But yeah, I was wanting. I think I'm going to be signing up for that course. So
Yeah, do it. I haven't decided yet, but yeah, do it. He's on fire right now. He's great. He's in the public. He's like, he's stepping out into the public out of the cave. And I'm like, yes. Yeah, he's awesome. But I posted this as one of our new moon ceremonies. We used to do them pretty regularly in Samara and Samara Trust. But yeah, I would host them. So that's something I might do in the future. I really loved it. But a lot of silent sitting for sure, Newman. It's important. But they were like an hour and a half. It was a whole thing.
Like it.
All right, y'all.
Cool.
Yeah, been awesome.
Good times.
I'm glad I came today.
Yeah, for sure. Likewise, I'm glad.
it's fun.
Super fun.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Thank you, Trent, for showing up. I appreciate that. And Natalie, yeah, it's so fun to see you. And have you popping back in. For sure.
Right.
And it's great. Yeah, because it's giving me, I feel like, all right, this is, it's a little extra, it's helpful for me, extra kind of, not that I need motivation, but I need, I've been busy, and so it's like, all right, like get this like member portal, get the minimum thing kind of up and going. And yeah, I mean, I don't know I think we do that. I don't know what the next steps are. I guess just like start. Well, I guess Natalie and Trent, do you two want to like get in there and just start like being a body in that member portal now while it's it's functional, but just
I think that's first steps, and I think that's kind of like the least I can do. See if I can break it.
Yeah. Well, you can. I'm sure you can break it. Why don't you see if you can't break it?
oh yeah, okay, that too. Yeah, see if I can.
That's what I'm really curious about.
All right, y'all. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Peace.
Newman. I'll talk to you later. So, all right, yeah,
Yeah.
then go in there, see if you can. Can't.
Sure, that makes sense too.
It's the big test, and yeah. Well, and if that's the least you can do, right, then just be in touch. And Trent, yeah, if you want to like go in there and play around and be a body in there too, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll get in there and offer my services. Wink. All right, I'll see y'all later.
Yeah. Here's my services. Yeah. So bye, Natalie. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
For sure. You doing okay?